to his gracious wife and wonderful family.
The Honourable Peter Dunn.
Mr Speaker, I want to join with others in paying tribute to the late Sir Wilson Whineray, acknowledging his tremendous contribution to sport, to commerce and to public life in New Zealand generally over the last generation or so. For many of us who grew up in the 1960s, he was an inspirational figure. He was the All Black captain at a time when the All Blacks had an even higher standing in the public conscience than they do today. And he was noted after the 1963-64 tour of the British Isles by the British rugby writers, hardly uncritical commentators on New Zealand's sporting prowess, as the greatest gentleman in sport. And Mr Speaker, when he retired after the final test in 1965, I can vividly recall, even though the television images were grainy, seeing him carried aloft by his teammates from the field of play to the grandstand for the after-match event. But it wasn't just the end of his career at that point. He went on, as has been noted, to have a considerable career in commerce and a range of public activities. And I want to recall an incident from the mid-1990s in which I was involved, where all of the skills that made him such a great player and such a great businessman and such a great captain came to bear. We were in this city having one of these great stoushes that from time to time divide us, this time the battle between the Porirua Hut and Wellington factions over where our new multi-purpose sports stadium should be sited. There were those like the Wellington City Council arguing for the site that eventually triumphed down on the waterfront. Others wanted it to be out at Aotea. And to try and bridge the gap between the different sporting codes, the local authorities and the various interests, an external review panel was commissioned, chaired by the then Mr, now of course remembered as Sir Wilson Whineray. And I remember going to a couple of the meetings where tensions were high, passions were being expressed with considerable vigour, and this wise figure sat at the end of the table, very quietly nodding at every point that was made, and in an almost quietly inaudible way, summing up and reaching a decision that everyone felt comfortable with, and the consequence was the stadium was built in what turned out to be the right place. Mr Speaker, I could imagine from that the team talk, the words of encouragement on the field, the words of encouragement around the board table from this wise man whose very demeanour and style of presentation gave you a sense of confidence that he knew what he was doing and that he was probably right. Mr Speaker, he said, just in tributes that have been referred to in recent times, that he wanted to leave New Zealand a better place than he found it. Mr Speaker, his presence here alone ensured that change occurred. We look to our heroes, we look to people like Sir Wilson Whineray, who with quiet dignity, determination and passion achieved not only on the sports field but in the business community, and the fact that we are now paying tribute to his memory in this Parliament, I think acknowledges the regard in which the vast majority of New Zealanders would hold him. Our sympathy is with Sir Wilson's family. Our best wishes and thoughts go with them at this particularly sad time. But we all celebrate the memory of one of our finest New Zealanders.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it. No petitions have been